Remote, Office Not Required by Jason Fried and David Hansson. This book is all about remote work, telework, flexible work, work from home, whatever you want to call it. This book came out in 2014, which means this book came out far before the event we have called COVID. Now, 2014 was a time where the technology was starting to get good enough where you could remote work. I would say it wasn't very popular. I think there are some niche companies and cases where remote work was done, but I don't think it was a very popular, even demanded for benefit. From my understanding of that time, it was really mostly customer service or kind of an upper echelon of the software industry. And what do you know? The authors of this book, 39 Signals, are the founders of a really successful software company. When I joined the workforce myself, telework was an option. Full-time telework was probably very rare, but it was an option, and it was one I decided to take. I was kind of surprised that not many people were trying it out. In fact, out of my office of about 50 people, there were probably only 2 people that had really tried it out. It was kind of crazy. No one really thought about it. Clearly, with COVID, my office went full remote work, and I've always really liked remote work. This book really, to me, is almost like, for a remote worker like myself, a love letter to remote work. Okay, this is actually a very easy book to read, which no problem. I like reading easy books. It's 248 pages, but the font size is big. There's lots of spacing, there's pictures in it. It's really like reading a 120-page book. It's a breeze. You could read this in a weekend, no problem. This book talks a lot about the basics of who, what, where, when, why you should remote work. It's, in my opinion, really good for convincing people to remote work, or convincing a manager why they should consider remote work. Though in the case of a manager, if they're not really open to change or willing to experiment or try new things, this book's not going to magically convince them otherwise. Granted, we live in the age of COVID. If you want to remote work, this is the age where you can push for that. Unfortunately, one downside of this book is the how portion. The authors are pretty light on the how you remote work. For those who are experienced at remote working, you're not going to get too many new techniques on remote working, like standing desk, what kind of PCs, or how you switch between your home computer and your work setup and switch between that, and ergonomics. You're not really going to get that too much. There's a little bit of that, but overall it's pretty light. Something I really do like about this book is it's just full of short, bite-sized lessons, as in just a couple pages, 1-2 pages maybe. It's great to introduce someone, it's great to just look at something and read it. It's even great to read for fun. It's so easy to read, it's kind of enjoyable. I will say, for those who are remote workers, it is really nice, maybe ego-boosting, but maybe not in a bad way. It's inspirational to yourself, and you can remind yourself why you are teleworking and what's great about the choice you've made to telework. Lastly, what I really like about this book as well is it is full of potential ideas. Sometimes I get bogged down in the reality of teleworking or remote work, but this book has so many ideas that it kind of refreshes me and makes me excited for the potential of telework, not just for someone new coming into telework, but even for myself. What am I still not taking advantage of in telework? Personally, I really enjoyed this book. I would recommend it to really anybody, especially if you're in an industry that can potentially use telework. Not every industry can, unfortunately, but I do think the future tends towards more remote work. And those are my thoughts on remote, office not required. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Do you telework? Do you remote work? Do you want to remote work? Let me know. And if you liked the video, please like and subscribe. Thanks.